Hi everyone, my name's Celine. I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to bring you another Backlist book recs pick for the Trans Rights Readathon week. I basically, as I was scrolling TikTok, not reading as I do, had been oh, I see all these books that I want to recommend, which I totally forgot about for the last video I posted because I was trying to keep it roughly about 10. So here's the part 2. Also wanted to share a general PSA as well. This Trans Rights Readathon Backlist book picks video will also feature non-binary writers as well, and non-binary characters. Let's get into it. The first one that I have to recommend is that Anna Marie McLemore is an autobi author. I was talking about them in the Venom and Vow anticipated releases list, but I failed to mention all of their amazing books in the Backlist book picks. So I've read everything that Anna Marie McLemore has written. I have loved them all so much. I think the one that I want to shout out, which is also I think the latest release, is SelfMade Boys, which is a Great Gatsby retelling, and it features two characters. I'm looking at Goodreads now. Two characters. One of them is a transgender boy from Minnesota, and well, actually that's Nick. So it features many characters, but Nick as the main character is a transgender boy from Minnesota. And if you didn't know, The Great Gatsby is set in New York City, and there's just a lot within The Great Gatsby. This is a retelling. It's part of the Fierce Reads Remix series. I've loved all of them so far, but I think, SelfMade Boys has to be my favorite of the Fierce Reads Remix series. I didn't really like The Great Gatsby at all, really, but Anna Marie McLemore and the SelfMade Boys just gave it more nuance, and a little bit of the things that I felt rang a little bit shallow or a little bit hollow in The Great Gatsby was given more depth and meaning in SelfMade Boys. So immediate yes. I love SelfMade Boys so much, and I definitely wanted to recommend that one, and also all of Anna Marie McLemore's books, including Venom and Vow, which I'm halfway through and loving it. The next one is Light from Uncommon Stars. This one is just such a tender, nuanced sci-fi set in our world, basically. But the comps for it is Good Omens meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It features a bunch of different characters, but one of the main characters is Katrina, and Katrina is a young transgender runaway. And then it also features a violinist, is it a violinist master, basically? Or what do you call a really great violinist? Is it a maestro? I'm not really sure. But anyway, a violinist teacher. It also features a person who runs a donut shop who is a retired starship captain. So a lot of different people, but all of these characters are so amazing. I think I finished this. It was immediate love for me. It is just such a character-based, complex, charming story about these three characters, about their lives that interact with each other, and about how they give meaning to family, found family, ambition, and also just joy, basically. Light from Uncommon Stars is just a true gem. I feel if you have readers who are maybe a little bit wary of picking up sci-fi, there are people like that who exist. And I think Light from Uncommon Stars is a really great foray into sci-fi because it is set in our world, but there are sci-fi elements, specifically with the starship captain running the donut shop. And also there are fantasy elements. There's also a deal with a demon. So it's definitely speculative fiction, and I think that this one is just such an utter gem. The next one that I want to talk about is She Who Became the Sun. Let me just get that. I have the gorgeous Illumicrate edition of She Who Became the Sun. And this features a main character who is non-binary. I think the comps that I originally saw was Mulan meets Song of the Achilles, just because it is an Asian-inspired fantasy. It is set in 1354 in China. And also there is a queer sort of storyline, queer romance at the heart of it, which is I think where they got the Song of Achilles comparison. So this is just so fabulous. And it is just such a fantastic book. The sequel also is coming out this year. I just got a request for it on NetGalley. I'm praying basically that I get accepted to read the sequel. So definitely have time to read the first one before the sequel comes out. But if you love kind of these epic fantasy stories, but are also grounded in characters, and specifically queer characters, this one you have to read. I want to mention The Wolf and the Woodsman, which is by Ava Reid. Ava is non-binary, and so this doesn't necessarily feature a non-binary character. You should still definitely be supporting trans or non-binary authors, even if their characters do not identify as such. We definitely want to show the publishing industry that there is a demand for these stories and that marginalized people deserve a seat at the table. So I definitely wanted to mention The Wolf and the Woodsman. The Wolf and the Woodsman is a story. It's a fantasy story. This is also Ava's debut, actually, and it sort of meshes Hungarian history, Jewish mythology. It also tells a lot about religion and about family and power in The Wolf and the Woodsman, so definitely would recommend that one. The next one that I want to recommend is by Mark Oshiro. I feel like my favorite one from Mark has to have been Anger is a Gift, but I actually just finished Into the Light like last night, and that book was like a stab to the heart. It is so emotional. It is a story about family. It is stories about identity. It's a story that features an adopted main character, which as an adopted person, it was like totally gutting. But also it is a real story about trauma and about loss and about love, all of these different things. It is a very emotional read. So if you can handle it, please check out the trigger warnings, but also please read Into the Light because it is so, so good. I had such high hopes after Anger is a Gift, and Into the Light just completely blew out of the water. It messes up with time a little bit, not in the sense of like time changing like sci-fi, but in terms of when memories and when things are revealed to us. It is just so fabulous. The characters are just so like they just get to you in the best way possible. I did also want to mention that Into the Light features a queer relationship or a queer character, but it is not necessarily trans or non-binary representation within the text, but the author is non-binary. So wanted to make everything clear so everyone has the most information. I also want to say I never want to pressure authors to out themselves. The next one is by the amazing Rosie Thor. Definitely I had to recommend Fire Becomes Her, which is Rosie's latest release. We love supporting a spectrum character. That is one of the main representations in Fire Becomes Her, but there is also a non-binary side character as well. Fire Becomes Her is just this like historical fantasy. It's set in the kind of Prohibition times, and it's dealing with a campaign trail, a political campaign, but also the magic in it is so fantastic, and the main characters are so amazing because they're really trying to figure out what is worth power, what is worth security. Like, definitely would recommend, I've done a few panels with Rosie, so definitely please check those out, because Rosie explains their book a lot better than I do. The next one that I want to talk about is Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which also features a trans side character, which is a huge part of the story. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read Her Majesty's Royal Coven, so I don't know if some points this character is given a POV spotlight. There are multiple POVs, so I just want to mention that as well. But Her Majesty's Royal Coven is a really great adult fantasy book, and it features a variety of witches, some witches who have are still in the witch politics system, and some who have left for a variety of reasons, which you'll get into in Her Majesty's Royal Coven. But it's about prophecy, and it's really delves with this idea of trans witches. So this one is really great. I can't believe that I forgot about it in the first Backlist video. Also, the sequel is coming out this year, I think, Into the Shadow Cabinet. So this is another one where you should read the first one because you can basically immediately read the second one when it is out. The next one is Heartbreak Bakery, whose main character has no pronouns. And I wanted to mention that because A.R. Carpetta wrote a book with Corey McCarthy. I mentioned Corey McCarthy and Man o' War in the last video, but I totally forgot to mention A.R. Capetta. And I chose Heartbreak Bakery because while I really liked Once and Future for sure, I think Heartbreak Bakery with Sid, who has no pronouns, I think is closer related to the theme of this video. Also, Heartbreak Bakery is so cute. I don't see enough love for that book as well. It features baking treats that start breaking people up, and Sid has to figure out how that to fix this, basically, because of Sid's baking skills. So that's like the premise of Heartbreak Bakery. Definitely would recommend that one a lot. The next one is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. A Lesson in Vengeance does not feature a trans main character. There is queer romance in this and a queer main character, but A Lesson in Vengeance is so great. As you can see, I have my beautiful Owl Crate edition of this one because Victoria Lee has been an auto-buy author ever since The Fever King. I cannot wait for the next one, which I'm looking at my notes now. It's called A Shot in the Dark. I just have loved all of Victoria's things so much. Victoria is also such a nice person, like genuinely, and I just want all the best for Victoria. But A Lesson in Vengeance also takes place, it's kind of like takes place in a school. There's a little bit of like a dark academic vibe in the sense it takes place in a school. There's also witchcraft and a little hint of unreliability in it, so definitely would recommend this one. The next one I want to talk about is Batcat. So the author is non-binary, and it was hard for me to describe Batcat because the main character is a bat cat. Like, it's a character which, first of all, is an animal, and also Batcat really doesn't identify with pronouns in general, because the whole point of Batcat and why I wanted to recommend it is because Batcat feels like they don't fit into being a bat or a cat, which, okay, I understand has a lot of different ways that it can be read. For example, for me as a transracial adoptee, I felt that it's like super much in the heart, basically. But I do think that it also can be a lens for talking about non-binary identity, talking about queer identity in general as well. The character looks like a bat, so everyone's like, oh, you should have like Sonic whatever, or oh, it looks like a cat, you should be able to do this. But the whole point of Batcat is that you can't expect a bat cat to be able to do all the things of a bat and a cat. So I feel so weird explaining this. But anyway, I thought this was a really great middle grade graphic novel about this concept, which breaks it down for middle grade readers to understand, and which I totally see as being a lens to discuss identity. So this is the wild card of the recommendations for sure. The next one is Bianca Torre is Afraid of Everything. I did a panel with the author, Justine. I loved this book so much. It's about a non-binary teen who has like a murder mystery. Basically, the teen, I was going to say, I can't remember the main character's name, but it's Bianca, obviously. Bianca is a bird watcher, and Bianca sees or witnesses a murder, and then all of a sudden, Bianca becomes the target of this kind of conspiracy in this murder thing. So it was so fabulous. There are also so many queer characters or side characters who are just so loving. The found family is great. I love the like murder element. It was just so great, and I think I read the last 20 or 30% kind of in one sitting. And finally, I want to talk about Just Like Home. It features a non-binary author, Sarah Galey. I have loved everything by Sarah Galey ever since The River Has Teeth, which is basically like, what if the US had started like riding and farming hippos instead of cows? Like, those novellas are just amazing, and I've read everything by Sarah Galey ever since. The most recent release, I think, is Just Like Home, which I listened to an audiobook, and it's kind of this dark, twisty thriller, domestic, about also trauma, but also family, and it just like also has this fantasy element to it. It's very difficult to describe, honestly, but it is really good if you really like those contemporary thrillers with also a hint of fantasy elements to it. Definitely read Just Like Home. I think that my favorite Sarah Galey, besides the hippos, I really get over the hippos, has to be, I think, Magic for Liars, which also has a really deep core of sisterhood. So definitely wanted to recommend all of these backlist books. I could do a whole nother video because as I was pulling out these books off my shelf, I was like, oh wait, I need to talk about this and this. But anyway, I wanted to just cut it off here for my other book list recommendations or backlist book picks recommendations for you for the Trans Rights Readathon. I hope you're all having a really great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.